gentlemen, welcome to our new episode of
Two
Dudes
One
World. Two Dudes One World is here.
Cheers, everybody. Salud
Cheers.
with the mate.
Salud.
How do you say
and
cheers
nazdraví.
in Nazdraví? But like, do you remember we had our secret way of saying cheers in Czech?
A secret one? Like we do the secret
Yeah.
cheer thing. Like tuntanta tutta.
Yeah, in
Musical
Spanish it's
thing.
like arriba, abajo,
Oh,
al centro,
Al centro.
y adentro.
Y adentro.
But in Czech it's like you have to click it with the. Oh man, I ran out of water. So it's like you click it with the bottom, like.
Yeah, but it's not like a
Da-
Czech thing. It's actually just my personal like fun thing, like a spiel that I like to do with my closest friends.
Oh, that's cool, man. I thought it was like a whole Czech cultural thing.
The thing is that is in Czech, like, okay, we're again talking about drinking, is when they do cheer, then they like, smack it against the table. And it comes from some like cultural tradition from the World War II, actually. But yeah.
That's cool,
okay,
man.
but today's episode, no more alcohol, no more drinking culture. We finally are going to talk about music, which is something that is deeply connected to our lives and to our passions. And we just want to describe what music is for us. What do we believe music can do in our lives, in the world? And we can just maybe share what kind of music we like to listen, what is our musical experience, what we have gone through, and just describe this. I think it's going to be so much fun.
And most importantly, how back in the day we thought that the music was our identity and would defined us as musicians, but we realized that we have so much more than music. And we started
Absolutely.
evolving to different paths. So music just ended up being like a very big element of this beautiful painting full of different cool things we have in our lives. So I'm excited to hear about this experiences from you, Mathieu. And yeah, let's go about it. Music.
Sounds good with this like artistic like description. I like it. Just
Yeah, man.
So like the point for us, the music became much more like a tool than like a identity in a way. And as our podcast is also connected with self-awareness, self-improvement, I believe in, especially it was in my case, you can tell me how it was in yours, but music really helped me to become much more self-aware. But okay, let's start, Edu. What is music for you?
Oh man, music. I'm gonna skip the cliche part. Like music is a way to connect with your emotions. Music is a way to connect with your feelings. Yes, I think in the early stages of music, or like maybe if you don't have a music major that you have been exposed to music since you were super young, yes, that's a completely valid answer. But I think as you start evolving, you start perceiving music, like you have said, as a tool. Music is as a tool, one, to express more than your emotions, but to express literally your thoughts and express your ideas. It's like a language. So like, for example, when I've noticed we were composing things, just how we were feeling. Music, in my opinion as well, is a way to preserve culture and basically make a moment immortal. When I play my Bolivian instruments, I feel like I'm bringing traditions that have been cherished and shared by years and generations. So I think in music is awesome in that way, in the sense of preserving culture. And of course, music helps you give a service to the audience. So it's a tool that allows you again to connect with deeper things, that helps you share cultural values and helps you commemorate cultural traditions. And it really helps you connect with the audience and help them by doing a service and helping them getting in that state of mind. I remember when we played our piece, Oblivion, man, that was such a beautiful piece.
That was so much fun.
But I remember like a lot of people came to me and were like, man, I started crying. Like I just heard you guys and I started crying. And the fact that Oblivion, by the way, for those of you that don't know, means many things, but it's basically when something goes to the forget aisle. Like when you forget about something and it's forgotten, gets dusty, gets left out. So that's Oblivion. And Matti and I decided to make a cover about this, and people were moved. And I think we were doing a service through that So that's a very philosophical, but yet very approachable way to what's music, in my opinion. But I'm curious to hear about you, man. What is music for you?
I really enjoy your description, especially with the last example, because just to give this example, I feel like our personalities are very cheerful and we always like to have so much fun when we spend time together. But when we start working on this piece of music, on this Oblivion together, we immediately it became like much intimate, it became much deeper, much like different connection between us all of a sudden. And I would guess just normally when we start playing it would be again fun, because we always like to have fun and we just our personalities click together. But through this music all of a sudden we got into it, which was super powerful even for me to realize, okay, music has so many different influences on me that maybe my normal life would not allow me to experience. So this is pretty cool. This is connected with emotions, you know, the biggest cliche that music is allowing us to feel emotions, but it's not the music that is allowing us, it's the fact that we are human and we are based on emotions. So again, music is just our tool how we can express those emotions. And I really enjoyed, and I think it correlates with my ideas of accepting music a lot, the way of music being a language. And I think I have it also confirmed through some of my experience of trying to play for different kinds of audiences, literally different kinds of language speaking audiences, and they could accept the music no matter the language, no matter the culture. So in many ways, music doesn't need to have a translation, maybe just be having the open mindedness and open earness, so you can actually accept the music that is coming towards you. And what is pretty cool that there's so much of different music from all over the places, all the different genres. And I really like to discover these kinds of music because I believe this exploring this allows me to also explore the world. Some people say like, okay, if I read a book, I can go to different spheres through going to the stories, but I can also do this through the music, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome, man.
Lately, because it's, you know, always we talk about our experiences, and I think they're related to our current stage of our life, you know, improvement or our life stage. And at this point, I really think that music has allowed me really to build a lot of self-awareness, as I mentioned at the end. Like, because of music, I believe I could really browse through myself and explore within myself really intimately. Because when you practice music, when you do music, you're alone and you're really just digging within yourself, trying to find how to make it a little bit more, I don't know how to describe it, better, approachable, shareable, anything. And just, it's like so many of nuances that you can always improve. So yeah, music, very intimate tool for becoming self-aware. That's my point of music at this current stage.
Well, and what you mentioned is like practicing is very intimate, but also practicing. I've been doing a lot of mindfulness lately. And it's interesting how when you start correlating practicing with mindfulness, for example, I've noticed that you have awesome posture when you play the cymbalum, right? Like maybe you can be like you can walk like this, but whenever you play the cymbalum, you just like roll your retract your scapula always. Man, I feel like a physical therapist right now. Retract your scapula, like your elbows have to be at a certain angle, and like you don't like lower your head, but your entire body hinges, and it's cool. And for me, it happens something similar when I practice the saxophone, when I start making scales, or when I really want to focus on the quality of my sound. I have to pay attention to my tongue, if there's tension in my throat, in my jaw. So it's like this whole holistic process of being aware and fully at the moment. Music is also a tool to help you connect with that mindfulness. And that's why, like, I don't know, there's a meditation with singing bowls where people play the bowl and like they're supposed to roll it, just to use this sound as a grounding technique. So music is also another tool to help you be present at the moment. When you go to a concert or something and you start noticing all of those small details, you really get connected to that deeper force that you were talking about, which is super cool.
Nice. Oh wow, I got shivers when you were talking about it. And I really enjoyed when you said focusing on a tone quality. And that's really showing that music is extremely complex. And I'm not sure, once I saw a video on that, like TED Talk video on YouTube, showing how our brain is being active while we play a musical instrument. And, you know, normally we have left and right hemisphere, and each hemisphere is focusing on different kinds of activities that we do. But when we practice and play music, our brain is experiencing like firework, like all the different things are being connected, and it's just so beautiful and powerful. And exactly what you said,
It's
you
really
know,
cool.
I want to have a good tone, and I want to relax my tongue, and no pressure, no tension, anything. And I've been super lucky to have very good teachers who were always like aware of this. Like, okay, when you play instrument first, you need to feel very comfortable. No tensions in your hands, in your arms. You need to take advantage of the kinetic energy, of the gravity. Everything is super important. And even though sometimes it's boring when
Crazy.
you come to play instrument and you spend like 20 minutes just like relaxing your hands just so you can be very comfortable to start playing. But eventually you realize, oh my gosh, these small things are making this huge difference in what you can actually then create. And it's super connected to your inside things, and that it feels like, wow.
Well, I guess just to wrap up this whole part or section of music, before you come up with something else and we keep talking about this for another 30 minutes, because that's how it usually goes. We spark ideas on each other. Music is also a way to grow as a person, because you have to show up. You have to be consistent in order to make music. Not necessarily practice, but I was just telling you about it a little bit before we actually started recording. Like, I got involved with so many ensembles, and we have to put together parts. It forces you to, one, be proactive, seek opportunities. Two, it forces you to practice. And three, it forces you to being consistent and builds that discipline muscle that is so hard for humans to have, like the willpower and stuff.
Wow, great. Music as a discipline builder and as a tool for becoming better with people, like social connection, people skills. Because exactly like when you play solo, okay, it's about you, your discipline, your inner exploring. And then when it comes to ensemble music or chamber music, you have to be communicating physically with people and trying to find ways how to make ends meet.
Yeah, man. Or especially how when you need to start expressing. Well, we're not all perfect, right? Like, we have had also our moments of disagreement when we're practicing. It's just like, I think this part should be like this, and you are like, no, I think it should be like this. So it helps you how to navigate friction in a very friendly environment, because the goal ultimately is to have the best quality piece ever, or song, or whatever you're doing. So it also helps you disagree with a person based on the major goal and a bigger context, which I think is cool, man.
Build the respect
I
and learn how to
didn't think
communicate.
music, communication, respect, discipline, connection, emotions, dude. That's a like what is it called? Like those things that are like a Victorinox, like a Swiss Army knife. There you go. Music is a Swiss Army knife. It has so many. It's a tool made of so many different tools. It's awesome.
Yeah, like small little scissors, then you have compass, so when you have this kind of knife, you will never get lost in your life. And actually this is what this is the best thing about music, you know, because of course like we are trying to not to be just only musicians, but the things that it brought us just being a musician, I think is just, it's mind-blowing. The ability that, okay, I can really like talk with anyone, any kind of field people, and even though, okay, I have not knowledge in specific fields like science or stuff, but actually I'm naturally curious to explore, and I feel like, okay, because I'm used to listening a lot, I can really listen, what are you talking about? And I'm very curious to find a mutual cooperation with you, because that's what I learned from music. When I play with someone, I need to pay attention to what you play, or it's going to be my music and your music. But music, when I play with someone, it has to be about a mutual communication. And so this is perfect, you know. I remember when we tried to play, as you said, you know, just first you come up with your idea and you really want to fight, and hey, this is a good idea, I really want to use it. And then the other person starts with a different, like, actually, you know, it doesn't sound that bad. Okay, so how can we find like a middle ground?
It's funny. There is this orchestra, Divan, I think it's called. It's basically an quote me if I'm wrong. I was doing my research about this when I applied for a scholarship, but it was a Palestinian and Israeli orchestra that met in zones of conflict. It was just a kids orchestra, and they met together to play music in an attempt to show that music can also create diplomacy and can serve as a vessel for cultural understanding. Yeah. You know,
absolutely,
like the Hebrew and Arabic conflict has been going on for decades, years, since the beginning of times. But it was amazing how they created this opportunity, and kids were literally doing the same thing. exploring their differences through music while building something cooperating. It was such a mind-blowing concept, and I think it's awesome when you start noticing that music, besides expressing emotions, yada 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 yada, being a tool, yada 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 yada, all of the things we talked, also serves a major purpose, such as diplomacy, or such as fight for freedom, fight for peace. It's amazing. Like it gets deeper
bridges.
and deeper and deeper. Yeah, you can literally keep taking layers, and you're gonna keep finding more meanings of music. It's one of those things. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you noticed, I have this poster that says music here.
Very nice.
It's probably backwards, but I don't know. It literally says like, makes me want to party all night, heals wounds, inspires me, is passion, makes the sky look bigger, makes me sing in the shower, taps my toes. It's like, just that poster alone has so many definitions of music, more than what we said already. But it will be interesting for people, like in the comments, to describe what music is for them. If you guys want to share something, or maybe you want to let us know. We always have our usuals that watch our podcast, which are really grateful for. So you guys just feel free to keep sharing what we think about music, because like Mati said, agree to disagree. Like our perception of music can also get changed by your perception, and we're gonna achieve a bigger understanding of what is music.
Just
But
by
I think
listening
we
to
have
other
talked a
people
lot.
of what is music for them, this is actually very invaluable to expand the horizons. And I think this might be a good bridge to get to a little bit different topics still connected to music.
I was about to do that. The transition.
About like a styles of music. Because I grew up in a classical music environment, and as much as I love classical music and as I am grateful for this experience, I also feel that this kind of musical genre caused me lots of music anxiety and hurt my natural interest with music. Because, classical music is much more about like being perfect, and it's classical. There's no that much of place for improvisation, because you are reinterpreting something that has been written a certain time ago usually, and you're trying to go to the standard of how that guy, the composer who wrote this piece, how he wanted to really have it, and you're just like keep guessing, but really trying to play it as it is exactly written in the music. And that hurt my natural excitement for music, because sometimes I just want to play, no matter what, I just want to play, and I want to discover in different genres. But with classical music, there's sometimes, unfortunately, this connection, this group of people who are saying like only classical music is the best, only classical music is the holy kinds of music. And it makes sense, because classical music can be very difficult to get used to, and you really have to spend a lot of time to get ready for that. But every kind of music can be amazing, and because we all have different experiences, different needs, so different kinds of music will be suitable for different kind of people. So I believe it's important to be open to different kinds of music, not only like, okay, this is the best music and I'm gonna like keep sharing this one, but just, okay, allow yourself to be having open ears and accept different kinds. And this is what I learned a lot also from you, Edu, that you brought different styles of music, and we try to incorporate it with things we did together. And hey, I listened to this band. I'm like, okay, let's try. And I'm super grateful for this.
Do you want to send this podcast to the United States education system? So it's just like, hey, classical music is not the answer to everything. Because I feel like all the schools and so many kids, you can go, but like I feel like so many schools, so many kids, even in our college experience, we were exposed to choir, band, and orchestra. Like, and literally all the schools that I know focus on those three aspects, and mostly they do classical music. Maybe jazz, like let's say if we want to be super
especially
extroverted.
Here in America, like they're much more open, so they have the jazz option usually.
Yeah, but I don't know, like you said, like why don't you start a rock band, or why don't you start exploring maybe a drumming circle where you explore African beats and things that help you connect in a deeper cultural level and stuff. So yikes, speaking of cultural music types, however, I definitely agree that classical music is a necessity, in the sense of like, in order to create, first you need to observe, imitate, experiment, and then you create. But if you focus in one individual genre the whole time, you're never going to be able to go to the 2 points that are the main ones, right? Like experiment and create. So I feel that literally all the greatest artists that we know, like that were complete game changers experimented with something. Incluso, I was speaking Spanish, even like let's say Beethoven, he was musically classically trained, but and he observed, imitated, experimented with his music, with the romanticism, and then he created, and he ended up bridging the gap between classical period and romantic period. And his music was seen as outrageous, right? Like people were like horrified because that wasn't like the pristine classical Mozart vibes that they were used to. And it's funny how in order to be able to produce a new genre, you need to defy another type of genre and put your own personal twist.
But actually, you know, when you keep speaking about like why classical music should be incorporated in those curriculums of the schools, you know, all the things that we do, we're able to do them because of all the hard work that has been done before us, and we're always able to improve because of the great foundation that we have gotten from the people, like from the previous generations, right? And I think this is a great power of classical music, that it has been evolving for such a long time with the extensive history and lots of data that we can use and learn from. So yeah, as you said, an important point, you know, these people who always improved brought like a creative aspect to it and made like a significant change in that period of music or the evolution, were the people who precisely mastered all of the kind of music that has been already there. So they understood the foundation, how it works and everything, and then they were able to bring something new on top of that. So they experimented. So maybe for this reason, that's why they're trying to always keep classical music, so actually the kids can understand how is the evolution and how it grows and why is it important. But I feel Americans are doing a very good job. They're allowing the kids like, okay, we're gonna have a different kind of band. And I think you said maybe like a rock band, but I feel like there are some schools that they're open to it. Like, hey, we will have a rock band, we'll have a jazz band, blues band, different kinds of bands. And for example, in Czech Republic, it's not happening almost at all, of what I'm aware of.
Wow.
How is it in Bolivia?
You're also from in Bolivia. We actually have a lot of folk, in the schools, they learn music theory, but what they end up doing is they end up playing folk music, which I think is awesome. Like they end up playing our own traditional instruments and stuff, which helps people connect with our cultural values and stuff. It goes back to drinking, because our music is all related to drinking, which kind of is interesting.
Salud.
But arriba, abajo, al centro. Do you remember para la Pachamamita? Para la Pachamama, you have to like...
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, it's funny. But yeah, what I was about to tell you.
The folk, your band in Bolivia, you said like pop music or something?
Yes, it's pop music, and many schools are definitely letting kids experiment with that. Now the challenge would be, how do you make kids that are used to like TikTok or Instagram Reels music that is always like pop and upbeat and always literally music that releases dopamine that makes you feel like super hyped? How do you make people appreciate classical music? That's what I'm struggling with. I'm a music teacher for elementary kids. So when I play something and I try to even explain it in the most intimate way, like listen to this piece, try to notice the volume, try to notice the intention, or like I even try to make them draw or imagine things, like the things that we were never allowed to do, they find it boring. So
they find it boring when
they
like imagine something behind it?
Yeah, because they are so used in their brains that music has to always be like like upbeat, or like needs to have autotune with the whole pop revolution that has been going on. And from time to time, yes, you come across the Instagram Reels or the Facebook Reels that has the classical music, or Claire de Lune or whatever. But if you were a teacher, how would you encourage kids? And maybe this can go good as well for parents, like young parents. How would you encourage classical musical appreciation for kids? Because I know you were classical music trained. I wasn't. I come from a different background, but let me know.
Very good question. I believe the cool way would be through stories, because classical music can be full of stories, and the deeper you go, the more stories you can create for yourself, so you can understand how to interpret a certain piece. But I'm not sure if you ever heard about it, but Benjamin Britten, he wrote a classical orchestra guide for young people. and he's actually like exploring like how different instruments are working within the orchestras and what kind of motifs they're carrying through. And it's been like super amusing. Sometimes I just listen to it like from the beginning to the end just to remind myself like, wow, this is great, what can happen within the orchestra. So maybe this would be a cool tool to use for the kids, like, hey, what are the reasons the instruments are playing in the orchestra, and then related to the power of stories that are within the music. And you know, you can just show them like, hey, this is we already learned what is a scale, and in this piece there's a scale going down, and try to think what is what is it trying to say when it goes down. And maybe it will not reach the home, it will not reach the tonal center, the C, you know, tone, if it goes from C to C, right? It will stop in the D and it will go somewhere else. Why what is the reason for it? Maybe he wasn't certain, he wanted to explore, and then he got to a different universe, and then he finally came back to the home. So if you sell it in this exciting way of like music being able to express so many stories, I think we all love stories in so many different forms. This might be hopefully a cool way how to do that. You know, I don't have like super big experience with teaching, but when I was teaching, like Symbolom, when I was in Czech, it was part of my school experience. I had to teach for a year. I always just focus on like stories and like, hey, what's within this music? What is inside of it? Okay, he wrote it in a way, but make it personal for you so you can enjoy it. And in like 90% of the cases, the kids loved it.
Like you mentioned, it's such a human nature thing to enjoy stories. That's how we learn. That's how our ancestors learned. That's how our families told us valuable information that we still remember. We don't remember when they told us, but we still remember all the little stories that my grandmother told me when I was a kid. Even my great-grandmother told me a cool story, and the sense of like curiosity, right? And it's funny that you say that because music always follows the same structure, unless it's like atonal stuff. But it's like the beginning, the introduction, the middle, where there's the problem, and then there is the tension, and then there's the resolution. And it keeps waving and navigating these cycles of like introduction, idea, tension, resolution, introduction, tension, resolution. And I think that makes music also, like you've said, a story, which is cool. I've never thought about connecting with that. The most I've done was showing my kids Peter and the Wolf.
That's also a good one, though. That's like a very classical example. People like to use it a lot.
Yep. It's cool because you start hearing different instruments based on their tone as animals. So it's super cool.
Or like even like look at the musical, what is it called? The Alexander Hamilton, you know, talking about like American history, which I don't know like super much about, but it became one of the most successful musicals, even though, you know, like because they use rap. But it's again like they took a story connected with the music, and even some topic that might be obviously boring for the vast majority of people who are not interested in history. All of a sudden, like, wow, I enjoy the story of Hamilton, and it was like portrayed through this music, and it became super successful. So that I think the struggles that we have in our current time is to always find it relative enough for the current people and for the current trends, because the things are changing so fast now, you know, TikTok, social media, and it has big impact. So how can we make this kind of music that is written in such like different setups, different environments, how can we make it relatable for the kids who are used to these kind of environments?
That's a great question, man. I think that's $1 million question. How do we make things relatable so that they keep influencing us?
Okay, next week you call me, hey, I got $1 million answer for this. Let's do it.
But also, on the other hand, how do we stop music from crossing that bridge and crossing that border? Like, there's a lot of Hispanic songs that are just borderline so bad. Like, in sense of the lyrics, they speak garbage about women. They speak garbage about, like, how people are just gonna get wasted. Yeah, drinking is a part of a cultural thing. It's undeniable, but I think it also goes back to the modern trend of like, yeah, I'm a badass. I'm making trap music and I speak about how I'm gonna smoke weed and just kill people and stuff. And like kids are growing with that and they're starting to internalize that. So how do we also stop that bridge and show good quality music? It's another challenging question, huh?
Yeah, I have dogs behind me barking so loud. Pero perito. But this is
also
how is it
go?
About what?
Go.
Best? Or what do you mean?
In Chinese, go,
Oh, 小狗 go.
go.
Going down and up with the tone, because Chinese is tonal language. Gosh, Chinese. That can be one of the next topics, languages.
Yeah, no, but
man,
like with the emoji of the eye roll, like languages.
Yes. I don't want to kill this idea what you just mentioned, because I think it's cool, like how we stop, having all these influences that are not maybe the very positive ones, and they're exploiting the power of music, because music can be so powerful. So if you misuse music politically or culturally, it can have the opposite effect, when it can really change people's mindsets and lifestyles. I don't know, just trying to do music more and more, and trying to be more proactive with music, with concerts, and with the word. What I found, which is a very cool thing and helped me so much with my classical music performances, to talk for the audience about what I'm going to play, why I'm going to play, what does it mean for me, what the person who composed this music was maybe trying to say, and just give a story again. And the people who would normally come to a concert, like sit and listen to it and would be maybe lost, maybe bored, maybe anything, they will be much more interested and paying attention to certain things. So describe music, talk about the music, promote music, make more concerts with explanations why music is important. And exactly, if you want to, we can make a podcast about it, and hopefully we can attract 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 1 million people who are like, okay, music is great, I love it.
And that ties back to the original idea that music is a tool not only for expressing emotions, but as a tool for service. And what you're doing right there is making a service to people, guiding them how to listen, how to connect, how to relate. That's awesome, man. I love how it all ties back.
all in a circle. Like, I like this visualization, everything clicks together. But I have a question. Do you think that music is a luxurious like product, or being able to do music is a luxury thing in someone's life?
Oh man, no. I don't think it's a luxury, but I think it's a necessity. How important it is. Well, and I'm telling you this from the classes I've learned. The kids that were hold in their arms of their mothers, and their mothers sing lullabies to them, were far more socially, far more active, far more responsive, far more academically successful than the kids that were just left alone, isolated. So it's a necessity, man. Like, luxury, maybe be able to access to a certain type of music, like let's say you play xylophone, which is really expensive, or a marimba. That's a luxury. But making music, it's a necessity. It's something that, like you said, you need to be able to develop both sides of your brain, to be able to connect socially, and to be able to have access to this amazing thing.
Wow, so music is a necessity. Thank you, Adu, for this.
It is.
I like it a lot.
Yeah,
because
man, it is a
you
necessity.
mentioned you mentioned the Chinese language, and I'm super like into Chinese culture. And what I've been discussing with some of my friends in China, like, okay, music is great, but like some people in China, they don't have the luxury to think about music, because they have to figure out how to provide for themselves the basic needs in life, because the development of the economy or anything. Like, okay, so my parents have never had time for really like thinking about music. So it's cool that you're a musician, but why is it important? Like, tell me, why is it important to be a musician? Why should we support you being a musician? Why don't you go and do a job that will actually have like a visible impact? So it's always kind of a little bit hard for me to advocate for it, but I feel it's super worthy. And what you said, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity, because we all need it. Okay, luxury, it can be like when you play a grand piano and you cannot afford it, but these days, luckily, it's becoming better and better and better and more accessible anywhere. So I like.
Yeah,
the
man,
way
you can always sing too. Like, you can always sing.
Oh.
I remember you're always whistling. You're always singing. You're always like with this uplifting vibe. Yeah.
Oh,
that's great, man.
We should try to whistle our spiels.
Oh, with the latency, is gonna be so sexy.
Yeah. But we have a thing that we always enjoy to whistle together, because we both develop some kind of like whistling skills, and it's so much fun. And for me personally, I can be much more in tune with whistling than with my singing, which is so interesting. So I like to whistle a lot.
Yep. Whistling is the good stuff. I remember we tried to whistle the national anthem one time, and then people were like, "Wow, that's cool! Like, you should perform it at the basketball game." And we're like, "What about not?"
But one day we have
But
to do
it's
it
cool,
just
man.
for the experience.
We have to, just for the experience, man. Play for the basketball game. But I really like one of the questions that you put there. I think, well, Matty has mentioned some points that we should cover on this podcast. But in order to wrap up, I think we should just wrap it up on how do our families perceive us as musicians. You know, it's like, how do people perceive you as a musician? Because your brother is a musician, you're a musician, but your parents maybe are farmers, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in my case, my dad's a doctor, my mom's an engineer. There's no musicians in my family. So like, how does your family support you? And how does your family think that you're using music for making the world a better place?
So first of all, it makes me think that I'm really grateful for my parents, because no matter their background and experience of my dad being a farmer and my mom being in a textile industry and working for different kind of companies making textile, so they really never like had like understanding of music. But my dad loved music so much, and he always wished he could go to like a music school and learn, but because of the environment and the family, he couldn't really ever get it. So I think this helped our family to give us the freedom. Okay, if you like music, we will believe you and just keep doing it, and we'll try to support you, which was the best thing my parents really could do for me. And when they were like very hard moments, like I wanted to quit music, they still said like, oh, maybe you shouldn't because you already played for a long time and you would be sad in your future that you gave up. So just try it and we'll try to push you, and you have to practice. You have to practice, kind of like Asian parents.
Discipline muscle, man.
So that was good.
Muscle.
But I always had to show my parents and kind of prove them and explain them like why music, you know, and the things I do is important. And they were always patient and went to my concerts, and I performed, for example, like modern art music, like 20th and 21st century music, which is super hard for a normal listener to like get a grasp of it and understand. And my parents always kind of impatiently sat through the concert and kind of were hoping it's over. So it is still hard, you know, to play this kind of music and show them why is it important. But they were luckily open enough to give the freedom to us. So they try to support
awesome,
me,
man.
but they always have this bias like, oh, you know, music is great, but is it going to be a good job for you? Like, are you going to be able to actually, you know, provide for your family? But I'm super, you know, like into all of the things that I've been trying to do lately. So I show them, hey, I know, I understand your perspective, but please believe me, I believe it's going to be awesome and it's worthy. So I'm going to show you one day.
Nice,
I'm going
man.
to thank you. So this is how it
Beautiful.
is with my case. How is it
Beautiful.
with yours, Edu?
Actually, I didn't know I wanted to study music until I went to China. I told you that story and I said in another podcast. So feel free to check the previous podcast.
Check it all. This is already the 5th episode. Oh yeah.
There you go. But my family has been super supportive in the way that I made them clear that music is a service. Like they noticed me when I went to make music for my grandmother or something, and like she was super happy, super proud. Or they noticed how I used to go sing. In my school, we used to go sing for the foster kids and stuff. We had volunteering stuff. So my family became really appreciative of music. My dad loves music. I think he owns more CDs, like original CDs and vinyls and stuff than the average person. Or like he definitely is on the top 5 of my country. Literally, like he spent
Nice.
a fortune there, which I'm happy.
Cool.
It's like my allowance. No, but he's probably gonna be smiling when he's listening to this, and then his smile is gonna go like. But
okay, Edu's gonna inherit it like a big treasure of like musical stuff.
yeah, my dad gave me a big troll. Actually, it's one of those things that you have to turn it around and then you play the disc, but it's only one song per disc, and the disc is super heavy. It's like ceramic disc, and you put it there, and
Some music geekiness.
it's beautiful. Yep, but I think it really clicked with my parents that music is a service when they came to visit me for my graduation, and I did a Bolivian multicultural presentation for the school where I went student teaching, and they saw the little kids get connected with Bolivian instruments and stuff, and they were like mind blown. They were like, how can our son make kids love Bolivian music? And they understand. We don't we cannot understand each other culturally, but through that common ground, he did a service to them and provided a bigger perspective of the world. So that's when my parents realized that, yes, music is a service. So I would advise you, if you are in the path of becoming a musician, be professional musician, or you want to study music, or you just want to get started in music, try to see it with the perspective that what you're doing is a tool that's going to help you with all of the things we mentioned in the beginning. Plus, it's going to help you make a service for other people so they can start seeing music the way we see it.
Amen. I love it. A great way to end this episode. You know, music is worthy because it can absolutely change your life in so many different ways. So please be passionate about music, enjoy your interest in music, and we'll be very grateful for this. And I believe through music, we can really make this world of a better place, and we will try to do that.
Yeah,
and
man.
It's so much fun, even though it can be hard sometimes, and, finding your own specific voice, sound, and your niche. But it's so worthy because it's very, very satisfying for your inner needs. So thank you so much for all the listeners who listened to this episode. Thank you for showing your interest to our podcast, Studios of One World. Please keep staying proactive, and please support us on all the different platforms where you're listening to us, such as YouTube channel Studios of One World, or the Apple Podcast or Spotify. Everywhere, Studios of One World. So keep looking at us, keep supporting us, and keep sharing the love with the world. Awesome.
I wish
Any
I wish I knew
words?
sign language.
You can
Parting words? Go out there and listen to some classical music. There you go.
I have not expected it. I didn't expect it. Wow. Great. Okay, Nadu,
There
thank
you
you
go.
for your time. It was a pleasure to talk this.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.